Okay, good evening, everyone in the UK. Good afternoon in the US, and I guess hello everywhere else. So, if you're watching this recorded, you can move about 10 minutes forward because I started a little earlier today, as usual, about 10 minutes before the set time. And I'm also we're starting a couple of hours earlier than usual, the Sunday live stream, mainly because a lot of the followers here in the UK want to probably watch the football, or as Americans call it, soccer. But yeah, I see there's quite a few of you here. Nick Greek is here. Justin Taylor says, "Evening, Mario and Rudy." There's Rudy. It's been a beautiful day here. Nice temperature in the low 20s, Celsius, of course. Quadman 72 is here. Nick Greek. Who else? Dutch Libertarian says, "Good day, Monaco 64 and Rudy." Hi, Dutch Libertarian. Nice to see you here. RJ McShane is bullish the dollar. Um, yeah, that's fine. I'm bullish precious metals, gold and silver. I've been bearish fiat currencies since 2002, and I think they're going to continue to go lower. Today, of course, we're going to look at the miners, and I'm going to have Rafi Faber is joining us in about 10 minutes because he's looked at the miners as well, and he's fairly bullish, even though he's got some other ideas about the long-term view for the miners. Zabinator, morning peeps from Aussie. Valencia 777. Thanks for the great content. Valencia says, "Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your interest and support." Andrew Watson says, "Hi, Mario and Rudy from Basingstoke." Darren Smith, "England for the win." Yeah, we'll see. It would be nice for England to win. They haven't won since 1966. The men, at least, I guess. Mark Sneed, Rudy and Mario, Rudy and Snackers. Nice to have a cold pint and a couple of hours early. Yeah, maybe I could switch to 7 instead of 9. It's better for Rafi, he because he's 2 hours ahead. Clive, he will be making it next Sunday and Friday. He hasn't been able to come on the last week or two. Pablo Pina, no English shirt on. No, I don't have any football shirts. I'm not really too much into football, but I might watch the match. Who knows? Andrew Brown says, "Hi, Mario and Rudy. Greetings from the Scottish borders." Ricky, House of House of Crap from Texas. Flying Squad thinks Spain 5, England 1. We'll have to see. Jiddu the Voice, Sweet, Howdy, Sweet Indie. RJ McShane says soccer is bad. Well, some people think it's good. Anyway, I'm indifferent. But of course, I set up this live stream yesterday before what happened yesterday evening in the US. So yes, I got up this morning around 5:45 because I went to play golf quite early, and I had some messages from my nephew in Switzerland, and he said, "Did you see that Trump was shot?" And I said, "Well, I just got up, and I'm gonna go play golf. I'll have to look into it later." But one of the guys I played with, he was looking into it and he was giving us some commentary while we played. Um, yeah, I think it's just another symptom of chaos, division, hyperinflation. It's crazy, and I think it's going to get crazier. And I've spoken about the symptoms of hyperinflation. And one of the symptoms that I was waiting for uh, was not just political assassinations, but attempted assassinations. And there's an example of two here in Weimar, Germany in 1921 and 1922. I think one of the guys was the finance minister, and the other, we'll look into that anyway. So we've had the president of Slovakia. They he was There was an attempted assassination in May. He survived, and now former President Trump, and they all seem to be anti-war people. So that's pretty interesting. In the Dutch is here, Atomic Rooster, Long John Silver. Apparently, a place of his teleprompter uh, hit him in the ear. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I think he was lucky to escape. I think there's one person in the crowd that was killed. Yeah, I did see that, Pablo. Fight, fight, fight. As usual, massive silver short on commitment of trader. I think you mean COT. Mark CH from Billericay in Essex. Eric Buzenbark, it's almost always the left. Andrew Brown. So yeah, assassination attempts and assassinations are quite common in American politics, at least with presidents. I think in the UK, the last prime minister to be assassinated was Percival in 1812. He was assassinated in the House of Commons. I checked that out. So 212 years ago. In the US, it's a lot more common. You got Trump now, former president, um, Ronald Reagan. There was an attempted assassination. JFK, of course. I think McKinley, um, Andrew Jackson, Lincoln. I might be missing a few here, but it's something, unfortunately, that happens in the US. I was watching live and could not believe what I saw. Ricky's House of Crap. Grant Walker says soccer is of British derivation. Yeah, some English people do say soccer. Rafi's just arriving. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen to the Israel-American partnership when the dollar dies? Well, here's the guy who could tell you. We've got Rafi. Um, Hi, Rafi.
Hi, I heard
How are
there was
you?
a question about something about Israel.
Yeah, and then you just popped up just in time. They're wondering what will happen to the U.S. Israeli relationship when the dollar dies.
Well, I hope it becomes a lot more friendly and honest rather than based on theft on both sides to both sides, which just causes resentment over there and causes resentment over here, and dependency and just a feeling of that we can't survive without them. Most of the country believes that if American aid were cut off, we would be overrun by Arabs in a week. When the fact is, like, we haven't won a war since we had a strong a weapons-based relationship with the United States. When we didn't, we won wars. When now that we do and we're dependent, we don't win wars, and the reason is very simple: because America tells us if you fight the way you need to fight to win, we stop giving you weapons, so therefore we can't fight. So I hope that after the dollar dies, we remain friends with the United States, but in a more um, honest, diplomatic way between states rather than between taxpayers.
Yeah, I think America's strategy is to keep chaos going and wars going because that's how they make money. They don't really want to win wars anymore. Um, and unfortunately, I think that's the playbook they're using, maybe using in Israel. Is that possible, you think?
It seems here that we're just the testing ground for weapons that America might want to sell or use in its own
Hmm.
empire. And so they test it out on Arabs using us as a guinea pig.
Yeah,
And then they see how it works. And it's a sick laboratory. And
yeah,
if, I mean, Israel could win this war in a day if it wanted to. It's just, we're not allowed.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Um, so maybe we can talk a little bit about the miners because yeah, I was looking as well at the charts you were looking, the GDX and GDXJ, and they look quite positive. I think they're making like 2 year highs, but you've done analysis like going back 40 years and they've gone nowhere. They seem to be very cyclical, but you think that maybe they might really be do a huge move uh, and that we could actually break out because there's so much, let's say, money or capital in tech. Tech has been like the place to be forever. So
Mhm.
could you give the viewers your thoughts on that?
I have a lot of thoughts on it because I'm invested in miners. I have mostly bullion, but I do have some mining stocks, and they've been very disappointing. I started investing in them in 2012, which was a which was a bad time, but I held everything and I kept buying on the way down, so I'm okay now. And 2020 helped. But still, it's still been frustrating because you look at the Nasdaq and it's like up whatever, like 20 times or something like that since 2008, since the 2008 bottom. And then you say to yourself, like, I didn't have to do any of this gold and silver stuff. All I could have done was just buy the Nasdaq in 2009, and then I wouldn't have had to do anything for the rest of my life. And there's some truth to that, but uh, then the question is, when are you going to sell, right? So
Yeah,
no, nobody in the Great Depression, almost nobody in the Great Depression, was able to sell in 1929 and buy in 1932. That's not that. There's like only a handful of people in the world who were able to do that. It's not a realistic thing. Um, so I mean, thinking back to the Depression, if you think back to 1932, 1933, when the dollar was revalued against gold, what happened then was that the mining stocks were pretty much bad until in 1929 they didn't really do much of anything. They didn't participate. They didn't like go up when the stocks are going down, but they didn't go down either that much because they were already pretty much depressed. Because in the 1920s everyone was chasing momentum back then too. It was the same thing. And then 1932 happened, 1931, 1932, 1933, and gold was revalued from 21 to 35 in different stages. And then what happened was home stake mining went crazy. And
yeah,
then that's when the mining stocks really started to take off fundamentally. And it took stocks until after World War II to regain their 1920s levels. Whereas mining stocks just went up and up and up throughout the 1930s. And that was a depression. So imagine what's going to happen in a hyperinflationary depression instead of a deflationary depression. It's going to go even crazier. So and it's going to happen. I mean, barring a great taking, which is a risk. I can't deny that a great taking really is a risk. I just don't. I try not to think about it and not put all my money in it because if it does happen, then how can I stop it? I don't know. But look, the mining stocks are going. They create money. We're going to need money when the dollar, which people think is money, dies, and people have no dollars that can buy anything, so they'll need gold, and therefore mining companies will strongly outperform everything else.
yeah. Here's the
Uh,
home stake mining, Rafi.
yeah.
Uh, like you said, in the 20s, it was going nowhere. And then it took off in 19.
Yeah. So what I was saying before, if you look at 1929, right? The 1929 was when the Dow was going crazy. Everyone was like rolling in their gains and saying, "Look how much money I made." And oh, look at you! You bought home stake mining. Ha ha ha! You got nothing. And then all of a sudden, bam! The dollar, it didn't die, but it gets devalued and it gets hit. And then home stake mining just totally takes off 5x. Everyone else in the 30s has almost nothing. And if you just bought home stake mining in 1922 or 1923, and then you hang on to 1932, 1933, 10 years later, you're rich and everyone else in the country is poor.
Yeah,
That's the story.
that's why you're an end game investor, I guess.
Yeah. There was
That's
an
why,
end game in 1932, but it was an end
yeah.
game that led to this end game that's
Yeah.
happening now.
I thought the end game, I was ready for the end game in 2008, but they stopped the end game. And I've been waiting, and uh yeah, I held on quite a while to I had some miners I bought in 05, 06. And yeah, I regret not taking profit, but that's the way things are. So yeah, home stake mining. And what else? Yeah, well, back in 34, Rafi, that was when they revalued. I think it was January 30th, the Gold Reserve Act. They devalued the dollar by 69% or revalued gold by 69%. But now I think it's been a lot more since 2002.
Mhm.
And yet the miners haven't gone up. I think what we need is I think the charts look pretty good on gold and silver, and also on the GDX and GDXJ. Any view on the SILV and SLIVJ? I guess they're going to be doing the same, aren't
Oh,
they?
you mean the silver mining ETFs,
Yeah,
SIL and SILJ?
yeah,
I don't own SILJ. I never bought it.
yeah,
SIL I do own.
yeah,
It's very similar to GDX to GDXJ. It has a little bit of a different weighting on companies that are more silver, slightly more silver focused than the companies in GDX, GDXJ. There's not really that much of a difference.
mm,
And GDX and GDXJ are much more liquid than SIL. SIL is fairly illiquid if I remember. It's got like very jumpy price patterns.
yeah.
So if you're trading, I wouldn't trade with SIL or SILJ, but if you want to pick all the ETFs, I mean, they're fine too.
Yeah, the thing about you mentioned the great taking, and I wanted to talk about that because I have concerns about that too. But like um, I have miners, but percentage wise, it's a small percentage of what I have in gold and silver. I've got mostly bullion, and but I think the small percentage that I have is worth risking. If there is a great taking, I wouldn't be hurt. But if there isn't a great taking, and we see a huge bull market in bullion and the miners, I think that small percentage will become a lot bigger. I think that's how people have to look at it, and it's up to them to decide what percentage they want to risk in the financial market. Is that the way you look at it too?
Yeah. I have to acknowledge that the great taking is a possibility, by which we mean like the government either just seizes mining shares or seizes mines or taxes capital gains on resource stocks by like 80% or something, or some kind of punitive tax. Any of it could happen. The question is they'll try to. Will they be able to do that? I'm not so sure they'll be able to do that. They're not all powerful. People think that they can do whatever they want. But I mean, then you look at just what happened today. I woke up and it was I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and I turn on my phone and then I see that there was an assassination attempt on Trump. And if this was set up by the by his political enemies, then they did a pretty bad job of it. They're not all powerful. So
That's right. Yeah. And so here's some charts. This is the GDX. This is in the last 2 years or 4 years. So we've made a 2 year high and it's looking pretty good. And then this is more since 2009. Yeah, I mean, you'd think with gold above where it was in 2009, that GDX would be higher. I think the reason it isn't is because costs have gone up for mining. And that's why I think it hasn't caught up yet.
That's
But
true. I think there's the costs, but there's also the issue that gold mining stocks are considered like quirky end of the world type hysterical stocks for crazy people like
yeah,
us. So like the big players don't want to be involved in them because like why would you do that? Like, they haven't done anything for many, many years and they never do anything. And you're just going to be a bunch of with a bunch of kooky gold and silver bugs that have been waiting for this for decades and they just keep talking about the same thing, blah, 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 blah. But when the big tech portfolios, when people log into their brokerages and they see, oh my God, my Tesla stocks and my Amazon and my Microsoft or whatever it is, the number's going down and down and down and down. I gotta get out of it. So what can I do to grow? What's happening to these gold and silver stocks? Oh my God, they're going up. Maybe those, should I get some of those? And like, even if the tech people are like, well, let's put like 5% in there. Can you imagine how much money that would be? And then you'd start to see a fundamental revaluation, regardless of mining costs and all this. They'd have extra money to invest in actually digging up gold from the ground and doing it more efficiently and on a bigger scale because people need money and there's no money. I mean, the whole thing is going to change really quickly.
yeah, and I think the a more wobbly the fiat currency system gets, the more people realize that the mining companies, that's they're going to provide the liquidity for the whole monetary system because their gold and silver are money. Um, I wanted to ask you about your comparison here of the yen to the Sistine Chapel. What's the story here?
Oh no, that was just something that occurred to me in my head. Like that famous painting of
Yeah.
Michelangelo and Adam is like almost touching God's finger, but he's not, and he's like right there, and they're like that close. So it was just like I looked at the trend line of the yen. It was just something silly that I thought in my head.
Mm.
The trend line of the yen, they tried to break the trend line and they touched it for 2024, but didn't quite get there. So I was like, yeah, whatever. It's just these things occur to me and I write them down. That's all.
Oh, I see. So they think that they can, they're gods, the Bank of Japan, but they're gonna fail.
Yeah.
I agree because they've been intervening for months and it doesn't work. I think the only way to turn the yen around, if if that's possible, is for them to start raising rates. And yeah, but they're not going to raise rates aggressively because it would bring the whole house of cards, not just in Japan, but everywhere around the world. Is that the way you see it too?
I see it sort of that way. I see it a little bit differently from you. Um, I think that the only way to for the yen to turn around is not for the Bank of Japan to raise rates because I think that'll destroy the yen. I could be wrong on that. Maybe you're right. But that's just how I think about it because the yen is the yen are the bonds because they have so many bonds. So if they raise interest rates, they're attacking their own currency. But I think what the only thing that could turn around the yen is if the Fed hikes back, it cuts back to zero, which would eliminate the
Yeah.
interest rate differential, and that would have the yen recover relative to the dollar, not in real terms. But
Yeah, but then the yen and the dollar would like completely collapse against gold, I guess.
yeah, they'd both collapse
More.
against gold, so there
Yeah.
wouldn't be that much of a difference for consumers. It would
Yeah.
just be for forex traders, but
Yeah.
even they are ultimately consumers, so it wouldn't help them either.
Yeah. People are always concerned about the commitment of traders, the open interest on COMEX futures. What are you seeing in those two, like gold and silver?
Oh yeah, I'm seeing slightly worrying stuff. When we get into this kind of volatility in politics and war and finance altogether, you never know what's going to snap at what time. So these patterns could mean nothing, because we could have some kind of political upheaval either in Europe or the United States or both, or some kind of violent thing which could just change everything. But what I'm seeing now is that the bullion banks, meaning the swaps, those are the market makers. They buy gold To people who want to sell it, and they sell gold to people who want to buy it. So they play both sides of the market. And right now they're net short, like what was it, 220,000, which is very near a record. I think the record is maybe 221,000 or 28,000. But the point is they're heavily short now. And usually when this happens with high open interest, which we have now, I think we're at about 550,000 contracts.
Is
This is
that
up.
gold? The 220 is on
That's
silver and
gold. That's
50.
gold.
Oh, gold.
Just gold, no silver.
Yeah.
Um, so usually we see some kind of a brief smash down in price to reset it. That could happen now, or we could go alternatively to a short squeeze. That's always possible, but the commitment of traders numbers as I see them now are a little bit make me a little bit cautious, and I don't want to chase here, and I want to wait for if I'm a trader, I want to wait. If I'm a stacker, it doesn't really make much difference.
Yeah, and I also saw this story here. Let's see that apparently in the West, people are not really buying gold nor ETFs, even though they've started adding on in the last couple of months. Year to date, global gold ETFs have lost 6.7 billion, and it's mostly in Asia that they're buying gold. So
Mhm.
it's weird. I guess it's not surprising. I think the Western investors are still, uh, yeah, they're still focused on tech, and I think the situation in the Chinese stock market is uh, pushing them to buy more gold and silver. So it says here, global physically backed gold exchange traded funds ETFs have lost 6.7 billion. First half, suffering a worst year since 2013. Total holdings have dropped 120 tons. Asia, they've had a record funds attracted 3 billion, while North America and Europe they had outflows of 9.8 billion. So
Mhm.
I think that's quite bullish because when things turn in North America and Europe, you could see yeah, you could see an even bigger rally.
What's strange is that I've heard that places like Costco are selling out quickly, and I'm not sure what's going on with sales in the online bullion shops. Like, I haven't spoken to Andy how sales are doing with Miles Franklin, or with any of the other online coin shops. It seems like sales are low because premiums are very low. The
Yeah,
premiums that are tracked by Gold Charts or us are like pre-silver squeeze levels.
yeah.
So it seems so on the one hand you have Costco with people buying heavily. On the other hand, in the online coin shops, not so much. So are these impulse buys like Costco shoppers see bars of gold and they're like, oh, let's pick one up? I mean, it's very confusing as to what's going on here. And in terms of the gold price rising, it seems to be bank driven and
Yeah.
Asia driven, and Americans are could be asleep at the wheel, except for the Costco shoppers. I don't really understand what's going on.
Or maybe retail or the people that used to buy ETFs, they're learning that they need to have the real thing because with GLD, for example, unless you're a huge institution and you ask for delivery of the gold, you won't get it. You have to buy, I think, 10,000 shares. That's the minimum. And you saw as well when you bought that silver future on COMEX, it was
Yeah,
impossible to get it. So how many of these 400-ounce bars do you have, Rafi?
about 1,700.
Okay. Anyway, let's see if we got some questions. So let's stop here and have a look at the comments. I liked your answer there, 1,700. Uh, any question, guys? I might have missed some. Um, my wife, Rafi, she went a few weeks ago with her friend to the Bank of England Museum, and they have a 400-ounce bar, and it's in a plexiglass box.
Oh,
And
is
if
it you can like pick it up or something?
yeah, I told her let your nails grow and like try to scratch some out.
Is
Because
that what the thing where they say if you can pick it up, you can keep it if you can get it out of the box?
no, it's impossible to get it out of the box. I've been there, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
It's
Cost,
heavy, yeah.
yeah.
But platinum is heavier.
What's the specific weight of gold is 19.3 grams?
Yeah,
Is it?
19.3 and platinum is 21.45.
Wow. Okay. Uh, Someone's saying here, Costco patrons are mostly wealthy. Coin shops are regular Joes and have no dollars, so selling to survive. That's Eric Busenbark. That could be true. I mean, the people I have affiliations with, like here in the UK, Gold Investments, it's been very slow, and they've been telling me the last year, most people are, a lot of people selling. Um, Franklin, I'm affiliated with them like you, Rafi, and
Mhm.
it's slowed down the business. So
No, that's temporary. It
yeah,
changes.
and despite that, the price is up. So which is strange. I think it's like you said, the banks, very wealthy individuals and Chinese are buying and Indians as well.
Yeah. Well, it could be that that in 2020, 2021, like it could be that people were rushing into gold and silver irresponsibly, taking debt, taking out loans to buy, which I
Mm.
never recommended.
No,
And now if inflation is hitting them and they need money, maybe they have to, maybe they're being forced to sell to some degree. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see, I look at gold and silver as savings. So why would you borrow money to save it? It doesn't make sense. So I try to tell people, yeah, don't borrow to buy gold and silver. Just try to, yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard to have some extra money at the end of the month, but I think is the only way to do it. Steve E, thank you for your super chat. He says, thanks for always staying calm. Um, well, I think what's the point of panicking? And I know what's happening happened in the States is pretty radical, and I think it's going to get worse. Things politically, geopolitically, financially. But if you know what's coming, you shouldn't really panic. Just yeah, be calm.
Well, look, there's you can there's a saying in Judaism called it's called Gamzu Latova, meaning this too is for the good. So you can take it. It's supposed to be like when something happens and you see one piece of a puzzle and it doesn't look good and the shape is all weird and the colors you can't quite make out what's on that piece and you don't know where it goes. So you say it's ugly or what is this thing? And when something that's supposedly bad happens in your life, you say why is it happening to me? But you never know what it leads to or what piece of the puzzle this is. So for example, the story is that in Tractate Brachos, I think that there was, I'll shorten it, but there was this rabbi who had a torch. He was traveling between towns, and he had a torch and a chicken, and one other thing, and the chicken was stolen, was eaten by a fox, and the torch blew out. So he was cold and he was hungry, and and he said, this too is for the good. So he found out that the next morning the bandits like robbers had crossed his path but didn't see him because his torch was out, and they would have heard him if the chicken was there, but it was eaten and he would have been killed. So you never know, right?
Yeah,
So this thing with Trump, he didn't really accomplish much in his last term against the deep state, even though he said he was going to fight them, or he hinted that he was going to fight them. What he did accomplish was he toned it down with Russia, which I thank him for. That's the only real tangible thing that I can think that he actually accomplished, right? But now maybe he had like a near death experience. Maybe he sees the light. Maybe he believes in God now and he wants to take these people down and he really wants to fight them. I don't know. Maybe it's
yeah,
good. We'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing as well, moving away from Trump, is that I think nowadays people, life is not perfect, and you're always going to go through ups and downs. And it seems that people never want to experience a hardship. Not that I'm saying we should, but like you said, it can be Yeah, it's like one door closes, for example, another one opens. And I think unfortunately the Keynesian philosophy is one where, and politicians, they never want the economy to experience anything bad. And I think that's why we are where we are, and things are going to get really bad because we've had almost 100 years of trying to stop ups and downs. But Indy, thank you for your super chat. He's asking, do you think that the failing commercial real estate situations was on their radar when all this was planned? Um, what do you mean by when all this was planned? I think maybe, when they instituted lockdowns and closed down the economies, I'm sure they unless they're really stupid, they could see that this would happen, and it pushed people to work from home. But maybe they have a plan, bring down the whole commercial real estate sector. And I saw an article this week in the FT that in the city of London it's really bad as well. They can't they're selling things really a lot lower than they paid. But I think it will come back. But will it be in 5, 10, 20 years? I think during the Great Depression in the 30s, you could buy New York high rises for almost nothing. But they sat idle probably for 10, 15 years. You'd have probably have had you would have had to wait until the 1980s for until they picked up.
1980s. Wow. So for
Well, I
50
don't
years.
know, but I mean, there's talk that you could buy a whole building for almost nothing, but you wouldn't have anyone, no tenants, commercial real estate,
Yeah, well,
because
that's why no one was buying. So
yeah. So I don't know if they have a plan to, um, or maybe they didn't realize that with what they did in 2020, 21 would have such an impact because these things
yeah,
have a
I don't think they knew. I think, look, you look at the quality of people that are elected. I mean, they went from real statesmen with educated, intelligent, circumspect, wise, most of them, to just okay, they could give a good speech, good for them, and they had advisors that were decent or trustworthy sometimes, to just like crazy, uh not articulate at all, stump speakers that have no idea what they're saying, but they can scream a little bit,
yeah,
like
yeah.
AOC or something, and they make no sense. So when you ask me if these people that really that either they're not thinking like people anymore, they're just thinking in terms of focus groups and tests and other little retail stupid political machinations, then are they really thinking ahead of the consequences of anything they do? I don't think they have the brain capacity to think about it anymore. They're just caught in a wave and they say, well, I have to act like this because I have to be perceived in such a way as I'm protecting my constituents against COVID or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And so they start locking down. They think about the consequences later, or they don't. And they just think the Fed will just bail everything out no matter what they do, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think I read something, I don't know when, that a lot of the leaders in the 19th century, they were educated in the classics like Greek and Roman classics, and
Mm.
apparently they don't do that anymore. So maybe they not only diluted the money in the 20th and 21st century, they've diluted education, I would say, and that's probably yeah, that the money always ruins everything if the money is bad. There was a question earlier, Rafi, I almost forgot, about China and silver. Um, they're asking how long was China on a silver standard? I'll answer what I think, and then I'll let you talk about it if you know it. I think up until the 19th century, mid 19th century, silver is a huge part of the Chinese monetary system, and I think it had been for like almost 1,000 years. But with the Wars, basically the British, yeah, extracted all the silver from China. They exported opium to China, and because they wanted the silver. Um, so yeah, silver is really important. I think the word for bank in China is silver, but I'm not sure if they're going to go back on a silver standard. It seems like gold is more popular now in terms of investment in China.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't really know much about China and the silver standard. I haven't gotten to that area of research yet, and Rothbard didn't write much about it.
Yeah, but I think in the 1000 and let's say the 11th and 12th century, the Chinese had, the little round coins with the hole uh, and silver. And they were the first people to write receipts for it because it was easier to have a paper receipt than carry all the silver around. And then they abused it and they started writing more receipts than they had silver. So yeah, the Chinese, they're not just like the pioneers in terms of silver, but they're all pioneers in terms of the fiat currency or issuing paper.
Yeah, that's a repeating pattern with China. China invents something first, and then Europe figures it out or takes it from the Chinese and uses it to conquer the world and kill each other. When,
Yeah.
the Chinese never were really into that until I guess Mao.
Yeah. I know I haven't. Yeah, that's right. Monaco 64, Atomic Rooster. What books does Rafi recommend in regards to precious metals and our global economy? Does he recommend the book sitting behind him?
Oh, that's not no. Those aren't gold and silver books. That's
But there's a Mises book there.
oh, that one. That's yeah, that one. That's for the background. That's Mises's biography by your Guido Holtzman. That's not really economics. That's just his life story. So you can read that. That's it's very interesting and eye opening about his life. Um, in terms of what do you want to know about gold and silver? The history or how to invest in it, or in terms of learning about gold and silver and economics. I would read Man, Economy, and State, What Has Government Done to Our Money, Anatomy of the State. Rothbard's pamphlets. That'll give you the history of money and banking in the United States, and an Austrian view of the history of economics. I think it's called. It's a 2-volume book.
Yeah.
So that'll give you a pretty decent background in economics and money in general. Mises you can read, but Mises is harder to read because his syntax is Germanic, and it can be difficult to read German syntax in English. But if you want to read Mises, you can. That was Rothbard's teacher.
Yeah, I was trying to find a book here I have. It's called oh, here. There's a couple. One of them is War and Gold, 500-year history of empires, adventures, and debt. And believe it or not, this was written by Kwasi Kwarteng, who was the chancellor, when we had the guilt
Oh,
crisis.
the mini budget, and then
Yeah,
Liz
yeah,
Truss, and
it's a
okay.
really good book, this one. War. And then one that I enjoyed is this one here by H.W. Brands, The Age of Gold, the story of an obsession that swept the world. It's not academic, but it's a good story, and it talks about the gold rush in California. It's a really good book.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
specifically about 1849.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
really, really good. Basically, the people who made a fortune were the people providing, all the material for the people who are coming to try to find gold. Very few people, struck it rich, but the
Oh,
people,
in actual gold, right?
yeah,
Okay.
that's right. So that's one of the interesting things. Uh, let's see. Any more questions, guys? Who shop at Costco? Is there Costco in Israel, Rafi?
No, there is not.
No, I think we have Costco here, but I don't really use Costco. I've never used it.
It's great. I've last time I was in America, we went to Costco because it's the only place to get not insanely priced kosher meat.
Oh, okay.
It's
Maybe.
right next to the pig aisle. It's really ironic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, book proposition. I've got that book, Gold Wars by Ferdinand Lips. Yeah. And there's also one, The War on Gold. That's by what's his name? I forgot now. The War on Gold is a good one too. Um,
If Daniel Oliver ever finishes his book, I think it's called Gold Tears. But I don't know what's going up with that guy. He kind of like popped
yeah,
in and out
he's
of existence.
yeah, he's not writing anymore on his website. Hasn't written for a while.
He hasn't written since February. It's very disappointing.
One book I'm reading right now, I'm taking a while. I'm on page 600 is The Count of Monte Cristo. That's a good book.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not really about gold. That's just a good
No, I'm
story.
just saying it's a good book. That's all.
Right.
Uh, I wanted to show people here, Rafi, because I get a lot of questions about what is junk silver, what silver should I buy? So junk silver is basically US coins that people used to use pre-1965 because they had 90% silver. So for example, that's a quarter from 1964. So that's what's, even though it looks really nice, you can call it junk silver too. And then,
Wow. That looks almost mint.
yeah, and there's a $50, 64. That's the Kennedy one.
Hmm.
Uh, and then the thing about silver is that every country had it. Like this is a 1967 guilder, Dutch coin. I think they took the silver out in 67. So that's the last one. And it was 0.72 purity. And then I've got here, I even got an Italian 500 lira, 1966. They did silver too.
Hmm.
And then Swiss franc, I think they had it until 67, the silver. And the 1 franc nowadays still looks the same, but that was, I think, 0.83 silver. And then bullion silver is basically if you buy one of these 1 ounce Eagle or 1 ounce Britannia. There
Hmm.
you go. What's your favorite kind of silver, Rafi?
I guess I'll find out when I have to spend them, which one works the best.
Yeah,
Which is my favorite to have. Well, probably junk silver because I'm American born and I recognize the coins, and I think they'd be the easiest to use because they'd be the most recognizable.
yeah,
And silver dollars are a bit big. I find the dimes and the quarters like romantic, just like you
yeah.
know,
I like them
I like
too.
them.
Uh, Dutch libertarian is asking it again, when did China have the silver standard? Well, I think it was up until the early 1930s, and they had it, for like almost 1,000 years or so, and they went off it because I think the British got the Indians to sell a lot of their silver, so they kind of ruined the Chinese. Monetary system because the value of silver dropped dramatically in the 1930s because India, the British sold a lot of the Indian silver. So there you go.
Mm.
Uh, Ryan Morosi, thank you for your super chat. What will be the mechanism that no longer allows the derivatives market to function in metals manipulation? Well, I think it's happening right now. It's not going to be from the retail or from like a let's say an Elon Musk that could do a Hunt Brothers cornering of the market because he would be shut down as quick as you can say Jack Robinson. I think it's going to have to come from a big sovereign country that's buying a lot of physical gold and silver. And I think that's happening not just with China, but with all the other countries that are buying gold and silver. That's how, and I think the manipulation is getting harder and harder. Rafi?
Yeah, well, what could cause the futures markets to not work anymore? It's gonna have to be delivery. Someone's gonna have to. It's gonna have to be in the physical markets because as long as people trade paper without redeeming it, you can keep expanding it and expanding, expanding. Nothing happens. The price slowly rises as it's been happening since 2000, but nothing cataclysmic ever happens until you have delivery. So, I mean, when that could it could come from a central bank or from a sovereign, but what would trigger a sovereign to do that? It would probably have to be a sovereign that is very dollar heavy, and then they see that in the streets of the US the dollar is losing value quickly, and so they want to get rid of their dollars too, so they get rid of their dollars. And then what are they going to buy? They're not going to buy derivatives of gold that are denominated in dollars if they want to get rid of dollars. They're going to have to buy the actual physical stuff. And if they can't, then the derivatives markets aren't going to work anymore, and you're going to go into you're going to go into permanent gold backwardation, as Keith Weiner says.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if you look at gold backwardation for people for the viewers is when the spot price is higher than the futures price, the forward price. And I think we're kind of seeing it indirectly in silver because the price of silver in Shanghai is like $4 higher than the price of the futures on COMEX. So I guess there's a bit of backwardation there, you could
So
argue.
you're saying there's backwardation in silver in China or gold?
No, no, if you look at the price of spot silver in China, it's like $34, and in the US it's 30. So
Oh.
intra-market, there's backwardation there. Um, so you could argue, but it's not the same, of course. You'd have to arb it. And I think that could, I think silver will eventually, the Western price will catch up with the Chinese price. But no, I don't think there's backwardation yet but the thing is, I've read Weiner for years about backwardation, and I agree with him. But the problem is that the Western markets, the futures and the cash market, are so manipulated that you could have backwardation and nothing will happen. Um, but like you said, I think the futures market or derivatives they could end as well if people just stop using it and start just buying physical, and maybe they are like Costco is just a symptom of that. Maybe it's just starting.
Mhm.
Uh, I just want to show you, Rafi. I've got also because these are like from the 19th century because Brazil, they went off like silver a lot earlier than the US. That's why we've had so much inflation. But this is like a 2000 raise from 1888. So it's like a dollar, silver dollar. It's a
That's
beautiful
from that's
coin.
from 1888. Wow.
Yeah, and Brazil used to have an emperor until 1889, and then he
Nice beard.
became Yeah, Peter the Second, and then it became a republic in 1889. There was like a military coup, and he had to flee to France in exile.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've got another one here. This is from 18. Well, this is the last one, 1889. So, and then you've got also the thousand, which is this is 1879. This is like 1000. This is like a half dollar. So even the size of the coins are very similar, the silver coins. Um, so Peter Suter, are you cleaning any of your coins? No, I don't clean coins. I don't think you should, especially the old collector's coins.
No, you can use an ultrasonic cleaner and it doesn't damage them. But I wouldn't go rubbing them, but put
Yeah.
them in water and ultrasonic cleaner. It could do some good.
I mean, gold bullion coins you can clean. And I asked Mike Temple, he's retired now. He's Oliver and Simon's dad at Gold Investments, and he just told me, "Oh, just use some water and soap, and that's it to clean the gold coins." Silver is a bit different, of course. Uh, no, I don't clean my old coins. Someone is asking. No, they're just really nice coins. They look clean, but I've never touched it in terms of cleaning. Okay. I clean my junk silver coins, Jake's custom parts. Yeah, I mean, if they're not collectible, you can clean them, but there are some junk silver that are rare. I don't think you want to touch them. David Thomas Mara, talk about gold, please, not coins, folks. Won't be able to cash out in the 21st century. Stay rich, folks. What do you mean, not coins? Well, I think silver is going to be important um, because you'll be able to barter with it. What do you think, Rafi?
Silver is going to be more important. Wait, what was the question?
No, I'm not sure what he's saying here. Mario, talk about gold, please, not coins, folks. Or do you mean silver? Well, I think gold personally is more of a store of value of wealth long term. Even though silver could catch up and should catch up a lot more than should outperform gold. No, I don't want to. I have got gold coins too, but the thing about silver is that I think it's the people's money, and eventually people will go back to silver. They'll realize that it's a good money. How do you see it, Rafi?
Um, as I've said before, you can't really transact on a retail level with gold. It's not possible. You can do it with gold derivatives that can divide gold with paper digits or digital data. But or if the derivatives don't work, there's no other choice but to use silver. So there's going to be a period of time where we will be trading physical coins for stuff. And you could call that money, you could call it barter, but there's no hard barrier between barter and a monetary economy. It's a continuum. So we're going to go back to silver barter for however long it takes to rebuild a gold derivative system. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to the initial, like you talk about a nuclear blast radius and the immediate aftermath of nuclear fallout. You're going to need what iodine pills and a water source and that kind of stuff. And after you have your basic needs, then you can figure out how to start rebuilding the city. But in the immediate aftermath of the death of the dollar, we're going to have to go back to silver coins. I don't see any other option. And
Yeah,
how long it lasts is a different question. It could last weeks, it could last months, it could last a year or two. I don't think it's going to last more than a few years at most because we're going to rebuild a monetary system. It's going to be derivative. Hopefully, it's just going to be more honest.
yeah. And the other thing as well, when the new monetary system comes, gold and silver might not be used as currency, but they'll be a lot more valuable because the new system will be uh, using gold and silver as major asset for the currency. But also gold, I agree with you that it won't be as barterable. People won't use it as much as silver, but I think it can be used for very big purchases. Like there's the story of the young German guy that was given a $20 gold piece in Weimar, Germany by some American tourists, and he was able to buy like a small hotel with that when
Yeah.
everything exploded. So
Yeah. If it happened there, it will happen in other places. It's just a question of when and for how long.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this article now. I linked to it. It was last month. There's a hoard of 94 silver coins were found in Lod. I think in Europeanized name it's called Lida, but in Hebrew it's called Lod. It's near Tel Aviv. 94 silver coins were found in a hoard from the year 351. Right. So there was a Jewish revolt against Rome in 351. I didn't even know about it. It was
Is
like
that 351 BC or?
351 CE.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, there was one last Jewish revolt from 351 to 354, and that was already in the decaying stages of the Roman Empire. And I think Israel at that time was under the Eastern Roman Empire, was under the Constantinople,
Oh
or
yeah.
what
Yeah.
was it called? Right.
Yeah.
So
What's his name? Constantine?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the emperor at that time was Constantius Gallus, and it was a revolt against him.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of silver coins that they find here, Roman silver coins in Britain as well. I live r relatively close to the Roman road. It used to go from London to Dover, and maybe I should get a metal detector. There's a lot of people that do metal detecting in the UK. It's
Mhm.
pretty popular. Ryan Morosi, thank you for your super chat. Rafi, any update on the war? Is it accelerating or slowing down? At some point, they will run out of money and want peace. Any any new news?
Yeah, there's something big happened yesterday. Israel, we bombed a building that was housing Mohammed Deif and some other guy. I don't remember, but we might not be familiar with who this guy is, but we've been hunting him since the 90s. He was the mastermind behind bus bombings in the 1990s. Hamas, before they became as powerful as they are when we left Gaza, um, which was inevitable that they would become powerful once we left Gaza. So that's what was going to happen. But he was in charge of a lot of creating bombs for buses. They would, like, Hamas terrorists would just go on a bus and blow themselves up and kill everyone on the bus. It would happen over and over in the 1990s. So this guy was in charge of that. And we assassinated him. It's not for sure yet, but the guy that he was with was assassinated. So basically, Hamas is like losing all of its leaders, and they're kind of running out of steam. And this might be a Netanyahu play, because he was saying that a prisoner exchange for hostages was almost closed, and that's what brought Deef out of the shadows, because he thought he was safe, because he thought that Israel wouldn't try to assassinate him while they were so close to a deal, and that's specifically when they killed him. So it seems that maybe Israel's being a little bit smart about this and trying to actually win in a way that it can.
Yeah,
Um, so in terms of, I think Hezbollah is getting tired. We have a lot more staying power than they do. They don't have much of a society or a monetary system. All they have is like a lifeline from Iran, which is also hyperinflating. So, people think that we're weaker than them, but it's the cities here are still evacuated, but our economy is much more vibrant and strong, even though our money is also poisoned. But it's all relative at this point.
yeah. So we've got about 8 minutes, Rafi, and I'm gonna give my why don't we talk a little bit about what happened yesterday in the US? I don't have to say what it was. Not that I don't want to, but everyone knows by now. How do you think it could impact the markets and everything else in the next well, until November? Do you think things are going to get even more um, chaotic, economic, financially, politically, or and even geopolitically?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a geopolitical mind in terms of like international politics, chess playing. So my instincts, I don't really trust my instincts on what is going to happen geopolitically. Um, but I did see that the betting markets in turn, what is that site that that you can wager on political events, and then they give what's that site called? Forgot
I
what it's
don't,
called.
yeah,
What?
I don't know.
Okay, so I was seeing these graphs, but the chances of Trump winning the election now, assuming he doesn't get assassinated, is I think 65% now.
Yeah.
So,
I made 900 pounds in 2016. I bet on Trump, that which was not
oh,
20 pounds, and I won 900.
wow. Okay. So
But
that's like that's 50 to 1.
yeah,
Okay. Wait, less than 51, like
well,
45
because the
to 1.
New York Times was like, even the night of the election, they were saying that Hillary had a 95% chance of winning. They were, it was crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I was able to profit.
So, I mean, hopefully enough people on the left who do not like Trump wake up and understand that the powers that be have been driving both sides at each other's throats and making us hate each other to this
Mm,
point. And hopefully they wake up and unite against the deep state in any way that they can, because that really is the enemy. The way that they make Americans fight against each other, the way they make Americans think about each other. And it's not just in America, it's in the UK, it's in Israel, it's all these regimes are
all,
the same thing.
all the division, and I think there's hope because the people like, for example, I don't know if you've heard of Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, yeah, the comedian.
Yeah, and he's quite left wing, but in the last year or year and a half or so, he's going on like Tucker Carlson, who's conservative, and I think that's what they don't like, people
Yeah,
who
but
are
it
not supposed, but that's good. So
the
if things,
left and right doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're left wing or
yeah,
conservative or right. It really doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is if you can see if you're acting insane or not.
yeah, no, and I think that's what they don't want because they
Yeah.
want us at each other's throat. And I actually saw a headline here from Trump saying that we need, he says, Trump call, I'll share it. It's from the, one second. We've got a few minutes still. It's from the FT. I don't trust the FT, but they're saying here Trump calls for unity in face of evil after assassination attempt. So I think that's a good thing, unity, because you don't want a divided country. So there you go. Um, I will. I'm sure you've heard of Alex Jones. I don't know what you think of him, but he's saying that things could get really bumpy, and he says people were saying now, oh, Trump is definitely going to win in November. He said he's not so sure because he thinks the deep state or whatever you want to call it, the globalists, they're desperate and things could get quite bumpy. But like we said earlier, Rafi, uh, there's not much we can do as individuals to sort
Yeah.
the world out. So you just have to keep your head down, do the right thing. I think that's what's important, and keep a little bit of gold and silver and everything else that you need to
Yeah.
keep going, right?
Yeah, I don't think that that Trump himself is a threat to them. I think they can handle Trump for another term. But if I were Trump, right, and I was an egomaniac like him, and I really wanted to take care of the deep state, what I would do without broadcasting it, I'd win the election, doing what Trump does, or talking about his nonsense and everything that he says. And then I would hire RFK to clear out the closet for me because
Oh,
he knows how to do it.
yeah, he just mentioned someone, Carlos Garcia, just said, Rafi, more bread and circus. Pay attention to RFK Jr., independent candidate. Well, I think he would have done really well if the Democrats had allowed him to run for.
Yeah, but it's not about the Democrats winning. It's about the deep state winning.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
that's
the deep state have commandeered both the Republicans and the Democrats,
yeah, I know
but they
you're
haven't commandeered Trump personally, but he's not powerful enough to take them all on.
yeah, yeah, that's right. No, yeah, maybe he should pick RFK Jr. as his VP. Who
Doesn't
knows?
have to be VP. He could just be the guy who's in charge of going into the FBI, firing
Oh
everybody,
yeah,
going into the
Attorney
CIA,
General.
firing everybody, going into NATO, dismantling it.
Yeah.
Whatever RFK can accomplish, he's much more intelligent than Trump. He
Oh
knows what
yeah.
he's doing, and he's much more respectable, and he's a much more hard hitter than Trump. Trump is just he just like aims wildly at nothing and throws punches. But RFK knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just the last question, we got a minute left. Uh, do you think because I hear some people on the internet, they say, "Oh, Trump is going to bring back a gold standard." I'm not too convinced.
No,
I hope he would. I also hope he'd abolish the Fed, but I'm not too sure about that.
no, he's not going to do any of that. It's not even on his radar. He doesn't understand any of this.
All right, okay, Rafi. And do you prefer this time? Nine.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
If it's good for
yeah,
you, it's good for
it's
me.
better for me as well because 9 o'clock at night is a bit already a bit tired, and I can imagine you 11 o'clock. Yeah. So hopefully, Clive will be on next Sunday. If you want to come on again, let me know.
Okay.
Just like to thank all of you, all the viewers for being here, and good luck to England and the English viewers here on the channel. I think the game is just starting versus Spain. Well, you know, the English beat Spain. I think it was 15. I'm not sure which year, the Spanish Armada. So maybe.
1588.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 1588.
I remember that from Billy Madison.
Yeah. You like history, don't you, Rafi?
Not as much as uh,
As money,
certain
as
histories.
money.
I like my own history. European history is just fighting.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's end the live stream here. Hold on. End stream.